Well, hi guys, hopefully this finds you very well. My name's Paul, this is Plan Zed, and today we're diving into Boss GT-1000, but these little tips should be relevant on GT-1000, Core and GX100. I've been trying to get myself to a place where I've got some kind of authentic sounding cloud reverb, and I stumbled across a few things. I might have stumbled across a bit of a choral one as well. Let's get into the patch. I'm going to be diving into this part of the patch with you in the next session, where we'll be going into ToneX, which is in the send return here. We've got a compressor on, we've got two EQ blocks, and then I separate the speaker of the GT-1000 output from the output jack, and I set the patch in the master section to effects 4 on. But we've got stereo because I've placed the stereo effects between the speaker of GT-1000 and the output jack. Okay? Now in this patch, I've used a divide to split my dry signal from my wet. So if in my dry channel, I've got a delay. Just a digital delay. Where we 500 mil, 15 feedback. I've cut quite a lot of the high cut. We're using the digital delay. Obviously, it's one of the single delay blocks. Dry levels coming through at 100. So in this case, we're using the internal divide of the block, okay? Now, at the end of the chain, I've got a stereo compressor. I'll talk to you about that in the next session too, but the settings are 35, 50, 50, 0, 1.6 to 1 on the ratio. It's a mastering compressor, so it's very subtle, and 30 on the mix. Then what's going on here is if I'm going to put that back on dual because I can isolate the channels separately using external foot switch. Now we've got just the wet channel at the moment, no dry signal coming into here. Ignore this divide for the moment. If you're using a GX100, just focus on the divide I used to separate the dry signal. Ignore this divide for the moment. I've only put this in here as a tool for this session and for the template. I plan to try and do some glitch reverbs. We're going to want a looper back here and a few other things. So I'm starting to set that. I'll use this template when I build that patch. But I wanted to show you what's going on here. So I'm going to start taking off. Let's just go channel B, so we've got no effect on. Let's take off the delay. And we've got just the reverb. Now I'm using a Hall 2 because it's slightly deeper and darker. When it's maxed out, I've got the time up on 10. Tone back on 20. Density full. Level at 70. The pre-delay is on 200 milliseconds at the moment. The low cut at 125 Hertz. High cut at 8K. None of the damping is touched. It's just left leveled. Then 65 on the modulation rate. I ended up on 57 for the depth. None of the ducking is on. None of the dry signal comes through, okay? So that reverb was my starting point. I showed you this months ago. Now to get more movement out of it and more trails, I've put a delay in front of that. So we're just using the dual delay in left-right mode. We've got analog delays either side because they become darker over time, and that's going to help us with the sensation of weight that we get. Now here I've got the feedback up on 90 when I put it on, But when I pull the heel back to bring the reverb back to down to 5 or 3 or whatever I've ended up on, put the delay on. Let's just extend the tonal. Can you hear how, because we're using analog delay and the delay becomes darker, the trails of the reverb get that kind of slightly, where it goes slightly darker as it goes on. A bit like the Strymon. So now let's put this effect back on. Here, using the Humanizer, we can pick our vowels. I'm just using the A to O at the moment, just to give it that shape. But then, if we add to that an overtone, let's bring our dry signal back in. Just going to take the overtone off for a moment. Now what I'm thinking of doing is putting into the patch, what I've got here is I've got a bit of a chorus that comes on. Now we could put that chorus at the end of the chain here. So it's doing our reverbs as well and delays. That's quite nice. Now the other thing I've put in here, if I just take that off, is I've put a pitch shifter, and I'm going to change these effects blocks to get different flavors out of this. So for example, if we just put that block on, it's pretty much doing the same job as the overtone. In the overtone, I'm only using the upper level in this first patch. So the level goes to 27, and I bring down the direct mix to balance it. It becomes a bit loud otherwise, and gives me the flavor I want. But this one, I've got the plus 12, so our octave, using a different effect. But I brought a plus 7 in, sevenths. Whatever that plus 7 is. I don't know much about music. Forgive my ignorance. So that sounds quite nice there. Let's just solo that. So this is almost a nice synth pad. Yeah, I'm liking that. So let's turn that off. It's very subtle. So let's just switch this channel. Just going to pull the delays and reverbs back a touch. Just going to take that off. Okay. Now with this delay here, what I'm thinking of doing is I've got a spare couple of controls that I can use. So I want to do different versions of this patch where I'm using those controls to do different things. One of the first things I just want to quickly look at is what would happen if I make the feedback, just max it out for a moment and just hold a chord. Will it hold the chord? So one of the things I want to try and understand with that is if I went into here, I might want to start playing around with this divide separately. So now I'm going to lose some of you GX guys. But here, what I think I'm going to try doing is bring the octaves and pitch down here. I'm going to bring this delay into there. I'm going to pull out all the dry level. Going to engage that. So now they've got, rather than using the divide in the block, I'm using a separate divide. And now I've done that, I can do different things to each side. So now I've set that up like that. I'm going to do a separate video to keep this video short, where we're then going to play around with different effects within this patch and save other versions of it and try and get, you know, we've got a couple of different pitch type effects we can use. We've got harmonizers, the pitch shifter, and the overtone to get lots of different tones out of this. And then we've got the tones of the different delays that can be used. Take off the overtone. So what I might look to do here is when I increase this, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly save my patch. Now I'm going to use one of the control buttons to just take this from 90 to 100. And when I've done that, I'll then click the delay off. And I'm going to have to watch my level because there'll be some build up there. Pulled it back so it should just slowly come to a place where it's not going to go berserk. So what I want to do is I want to use the control button to then play with the feedback of this delay that's going into the reverb. Okay, so while I've got this like this, let's just hear what that sounds like without the reverb on it. Show you the settings there. Analog both sides. Got the high cut at 8, the feedback on 90 for both, 45 the level, 50 on the right side, and that's because the delay time's short. So we're at 250 milliseconds on the right and 500 on the left. Put this reverb back on. won't have time for the Les Paul. I think I've overrun 10 minutes. Just want to hear things. Now, if I want to manage the frequencies, let's say I get it to a place where I like the sound, but it's just too much. And when I bring the volume down, I'm not getting the sound I want. What I can do is take the frequencies out of the way of the guitar. So we can use an EQ block. Put an EQ block either at the end or the front of the chain. You can experiment with it. Different where you put it will give you a slightly different effect. For example, we could come to about 2K, open up the Q a bit, and only take maybe 2 dB. Now, I don't actually feel like it's fighting with me. I feel like the guitar is coming through quite nicely. But if I wanted to just pull it back a bit, and because I've pulled it back a bit there, I might find that, you know what, let's just bump this by 5. Or even just 3. So I'm getting lots of really nice warm lows. Getting some of the air in the highs, but I've taken some of the mids away from where the guitar pick is. Or I can make it more trebly, bassy, whatever I want with this EQ block. So this EQ block will stay in my side chain here as a template, just in case I need it to sort out a problem or change the flavor of something. Okay, so I'm going to just save this template here, and we'll do a part 2 on this, and we'll get the Les Paul out, try some different ToneX captures through it. Along the way, I'm going to do another video where I go into the EQ settings and ToneX settings for where I'm ending up. I really like where I'm ending up at the moment. I'm currently hearing the clean dumble. Just going to engage the overtone. Nice. So if I want that overspill to go on longer, I'll just increase the delay by 3 or 4 to maybe 95, just to get a touch more out of it before it starts going berserk. Really like how that's sounding. Can't wait to hear it with other flavors. I'll catch you in the next one. Hopefully you enjoyed that and found it useful. Bye.